If all goes well, when we go to sleep here, we should get a visit from the Dark Brotherhood. This all worked out pretty well. We're not even level 10, and we'll basically have our foot in the door of all the different guilds. Good stuff. There we go. 5 points in each. Not too many wasted points. Nice.
You sleep rather soundly for a murderer. That's good. You'll need a clear conscience for what I'm about to propose. You prefer silence, then? As do I, my dear child, as do I. For is silence not the symphony of death, the orchestration of Sithis himself? Ironic, then, that I come to you now as speaker for the Dark Brotherhood. My name is Lucian LeChance, and my voice is the will of the Night Mother. She's been watching you, observing as you kill, admiring as you end life without pity or remorse. The Night Mother is most pleased. That is why I stand here before you. I bear an offering, an opportunity to join our rather unique family. I find your etiquette refreshing. Now please, listen carefully. On the green road to the north of Breville lies the Inn of Ill-Omen. There you will find a man named Rufio. Kill him, and your initiation into the Dark Brotherhood will be complete. Do this, and the next time you sleep in a location I deem secure, I will reveal myself once more, bearing the love of your new family. Please accept this token from the Dark Brotherhood. It is a virgin blade and thirsts for blood. May it serve you well, as does your silence. Now I bid you farewell. I do hope we'll meet again soon. Yes, I am a speaker, a representative of the Dark Brotherhood. My voice is the voice of the Black Hand, our organization's ruling body. One of my duties is to find exceptional individuals, such as yourself, and offer a place within our family. We praise our unholy matron. From her shadowed womb we were born. From her breast we suckle malice and pain. She loves her children, you see. Know that Rufio is old and weak and sleeps his days away. You could kill him before he even has a chance to wake, if you so choose. Have you not heard of the Dark Brotherhood? Of the remorseless guild of paid assassins and homicidal cutthroats? Join us, and you'll find the Dark Brotherhood to be all that and so much more. We are, more than anything, a union of like-minded individuals. We kill for profit, for enjoyment, and for the glory of the dread Father Sithis. We are family, with bonds forged in blood and death. Your path is clear. Send Rufio to his death, and the Dark Brotherhood will embrace you as family.
Oh man, epic stuff. I remember the very first time that dude ever woke me up in the middle of sleeping. I was like, what the hell? Who's this? What is this about? I literally had no idea. And that's what made it amazing, is everything was an adventure. Everything was an experience. Even now, I don't know, as much as I guess you could say sicko, twisted individual Lucian LeChance may be, at least he's honorable by Dark Brotherhood standards. I guess I'm wrong to like these characters in the game, but yeah, man, wow. They did some good stuff. They set the bar pretty high for Dark Brotherhood and future Elder Scrolls games too. Like, they kind of covered all the bases here. I mean, there's a really, really good storyline with the Dark Brotherhood here. It's an adventure in and of itself. I think each of the guilds is really. The Fighter Guild to me is like the least of them. It's got a story, nothing wrong with it. But Thieves Guild and the Dark Brotherhood, they've got their own drama, their own stuff taking place. You know, aside from all this turmoil that's about to really, when it really hits the fan in the world, they still have their things going on. It's just, man, good stuff. Okay, so let me go ahead and get a few poisons under my belt, get a few heals, all that good stuff, and then I'm going to put the rest of this away. I have been carrying this around literally the entire game. When we start getting some better potion tools, you know, mortar and pestle and alembics and all that stuff, apprentice and then, you know, journeyman, master level ones, oh man, I imagine we'll be making some good stuff. Poisons are going to play a huge part of this. I already see that. I was just curious, and to my credit, actually, I was right. There is a 6-to-1 ratio in damage difference between the difficulties. Normal, as opposed to normal, the player does 1/6 of the damage that you would do on normal, and the enemies do 6 times more damage than they do on normal. So it's essentially a 12-point gap, or I guess you could say a dozen multipliers difference between the damage you give and the damage you receive. That's why, well, you die a whole lot faster. I mean, I can just imagine later game when the mages get real, when they start getting all their abilities, they have all the same shit you have, and, you know, then Daedra and stuff like that. Yeah, it's going to be real. I think it's going to require utilizing everything in the game. I don't think just having a strong enchanted weapon is going to allow me to just, you know, run through the game and just spin to win. I believe potions and stuff. I've been sitting here experimenting. I'm going to do a little bit more with it, but I have a feeling outside of... I'm not going to do any exploits or cheats, and I think there's a point... I saw someone mention something about during, I believe, the Shivering Isles DLC, which I do have that, and I do plan on going and checking that out at some point. I don't know how long this playthrough is going to be, but I was headed to the inn, but we have a castle, so I have to explore it, and that's just the way it is. Also, I heard someone mention that on the max difficulty, it's not a good idea to adventure in all the castles and stuff, and I'm like, man, I'm not going to not explore in Oblivion. If the difficulty just requires that I never explore, I wouldn't play it. And screw that. I'm going to make it work, but I'm going to do some exploring. That's just the way it is. So, yeah, but anyway, I was looking for drain agility, and the idea was, the way I'd enchant my weapon is to put a certain, you know, base damage type. I like frost. I happen to like frost. Doesn't really matter. As long as you can make the enemies weak to whatever damage type you're using, then that's fine. But I was thinking putting a drain agility, which drain is different than damage because it only temporarily removes some agility from your enemy. Kind of like drain health. It's only as long as the spell lasts do they lose that much health. Like if you have drain health for 100 points, they lose 100 points for however many seconds the spell carries out. Pretty simple. And these bandits, I mean, look at that. That's a huge difference. Whole different ballgame when you're used to 1 or 2 shotting bandits, and now, man, it's every fight's a fight. I mean, I don't know at any point in the game you're just going to be on God mode. It'd be nice to build and get the character to where that's, you know, you could do that through legitimate means, but I'm thinking no. I'm thinking they balance this game really, really well. I would like to accuse it of having no balance whatsoever when I'm just getting two-shotted by stuff, but that's the difficulty. It's like that across the board. The difficulty is not complex. There's not hundreds of different armor and damage resistance modifiers and stuff like that in place. Apparently, the only thing is just enemies do more damage, you do less damage. So in other words, you take more, they take less, they do more, you do less. Works out the same. Either way, doesn't matter. The damage you put out and the damage they put out as yours goes down, theirs goes up, and then vice versa. As the amount of damage you take based on what they're putting out, and the amount of damage they take because you're doing less also work. And it's just as you move that slider, it just goes up and down. Pretty simple. But the way the all the mechanics work and everything else, it essentially requires, well, maybe it doesn't require it. I'm sure there's workarounds. Everybody's going to have a different play style. Going to use their weapons and their magic a little bit different and whatever. But ideally, they would have you utilize everything in the game. All the potions, all the resistances, all the buffs and debuffs and all that kind of stuff. I think that's their idea. Is, if you want the ultimate challenge the game has to offer, you also get a bit more of an experience. Now, raising your alchemy up, because you're not going to have the funds to just go buy all the potions you need. Trying to get through this without alchemy, trying to get through this without magic, trying to get through this without melee, I just don't see it. I see it, at least them doing their best to make sure that you use all of it, and that's nice. I kind of dig that. I got a little bit of that out of legendary mode on Skyrim too. Yeah, that was it was rewarding. I liked it. I can see the first and foremost thing that players might have a problem with on this, and that I've seen, that I've learned real quick, is using some potions, having some kind of buff, until you can get all the fancy, sexy enchantments and all that other kind of stuff. Have something that can compensate for the amount of damage you're doing. Bottom line is you want to raise your damage to where you can pretty much match theirs, which I don't know if you ever will, but you try to get as close as you can, and then make up for the extra damage you're taking with resistances. That would require being familiar with the game, familiar with the combat, and all that good stuff, man. But I can see that being the biggest problem, is early on in the game, especially. When you're getting two-shotted by rats, well, time to go to Plan B. Might want to start considering conjuration. Get a summons in there to take some of the attention off you, like that right there. I believe that your summons, and it's really, really apparent, that's why I say this, going all the way back to, where were we? Fort Blueblood, I think. And I had a scroll to summon, whatever it was, Headless Zombie or something like that. Anyway, that zombie was essentially two-shotting enemies in there. Now, it was a higher level zombie in a relatively lower level area, but I mean, it was doing damage that you would expect to see on lower difficulties. And I'm thinking that when it comes to summons, that the rules that apply to the player don't apply to summons. Which is kind of fair, because there's some other things that don't apply to NPCs that do apply to you in combat. For example, if I'm not mistaken, anything that does damage to your fatigue also does damage to your health. That doesn't apply to enemies. If you damage their fatigue, that's what you damage, is their stamina or their fatigue. And that's it. You might make them tired, but you're not going to hurt them with that. So, stuff like that. So it's fair. It's fair to have some things going in your favor. If your summons are stronger, basically scaled to the game, Okay, you may be weak as wet tissue paper, but your zombie isn't. Summon your zombie. Let him be a tank for you. Let him serve as essentially a follower. So any complaints in this game that you don't have a follower like you do in Skyrim, although later on with the Mages Guild and Dark Brotherhood, I think you can. You can get followers, sort of. Not named followers that you develop a relationship with, per se, but someone who can come along with you. But for lack of an actual true follower, your summons, pretty effective here. I like the variety of summons you have in this a lot better than Skyrim. Personally, I think the Atronachs are kind of cooler, except for the Flame Atronach in Skyrim. I really dig the Flame Atronach. They made her graceful. That's a really cool looking summons. Really is. And this one, I really like the Frost Atronach in this one. But I really like them all, to be honest. The Storms are really cool. The Spider Daedra, oh man. Yeah, they're almost sexy in a horrible way or something. I don't know. They're really cool monsters. Yeah, I think there's more summons in this game, like a lot more. Just like there's a lot more spells. I don't know why they would water down the magic in Skyrim. I'm thinking, least I'm hoping that in the next Elder Scrolls they might rethink that and get back and dive into magic and make it as complex and stuff. I know what they were doing is they didn't want the player to have to spend as much time. Screw the arcane and university and all that other stuff. Let's just give them an enchanting table and, you know, a way to do all that stuff at the beginning. They don't make their own spells. Here's the spells you got. Go read a couple books and that's it. Go on a bridge and talk to somebody and throw a fireball in the air and they'll let you into the university and that's all it takes. They need to rethink that. That was a definite weak point in Skyrim, especially considering how high they raised the bar for that quest line and that whole style of gameplay in Oblivion. I mean, they really put it up there. And from what I understand, Oblivion's magic system may be even a little bit simpler than it was in Morrowind. And why get away from that? I mean, just because some players are complaining that it's too complicated or too hard, make them learn. Yeah, don't water it down, you know, and give it to them on a silver platter. Screw that. Make them learn. Make people work for it. That's what the game's about, is learning it, figuring it out. Give us some substance. Give us something to chew on here. Yeah, when everything comes free and easy, that's just, there's no reward to it. I don't care how much they cry on the forums and on the internet and stuff. They're still going to give you their money, Bethesda. They're going to give you their money. Even if you make the game hard, they'll still give you their money. Even if, like, I would like to think that I'm still learning stuff in Oblivion. I'm still, on this playthrough right here, still, you know, I'll go look up something, or I'll go check something out, or I'll go see what people are saying about something, or I'll go just kind of throw an idea out there and hear what people say about it, and they'll give you feedback. Different ways to approach certain problems and stuff, and that's the sign of a really, really good game, is when even years and years later, you know, you just don't know everything about it. I'm not saying there's not some players out there that don't literally know everything about Oblivion. Probably are. I would like to think I'm one, but you know, I'm kind of glad I'm not, because I'm still learning some stuff here. Mainly with like enchanting and stuff, things that I got away with and didn't really require much more thought on lower difficulties are requiring rethinking here. You know, weapons that used to be one-hitter-quitter type of things before, even if they were expensive to use, they were exceptionally powerful. They're just weak sauce now. In fact, not only are they weak, but they're even weaker because of the difficulty level. Is that if you don't kill an enemy in one shot, you basically don't do anything to them at all. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice still learning stuff about this. I think that's amazing. Definitely no shame in my game keeping a summons up there, though. Nice. I'm needing to raise all this. I gotta get my strength up there, too. I've been dividing my points between strength, a little bit of intelligence, agility, willpower, endurance. And you can only like level up 3, so it's like, which one do I put him in this time? A lot of times it's the first, you know, little bit of exploring I do during a level, what I happen to raise first. Like if I get a couple quick points into strength, well, I don't want to waste those. So I'm going to train in strength. Endurance is a gimme. In fact, everything else is on hold until I get my endurance skills trained to a total of 10 points. And then agility would be ideal, but then sometimes, you know, I use a bunch of restoration and destruction. My willpower gets up there, and I'm like, well, shit. I guess I'll train in that instead. But it looks like about 3 more levels, and our endurance can be maxed out. When that happens, that's going to narrow it down some. Then I can concentrate strength, willpower, agility, probably. Intelligence is a tough one because alchemy is an intelligence skill, and I like making my own potions. I can't afford not to. Like I say, poisons are an elemental part of this difficulty here. I'm not saying you can't get through without poisons, but that's making things 1,000 times harder on yourself. I learned that the hard way. If I wasn't so far into this already, I would literally start completely over, having learned what I've learned, not waste some stuff, which I'd love to have back, some grand soul gems that I just pissed off experimenting early on, thinking it was cool. Yeah, just go experiment with the most valuable shit in the game if you want to, and that was just stupid. But, I mean, I learned, but yeah, it was an expensive lesson. Not having potions on hand, thinking to myself, the old thinking, the way I used to level is, if I didn't have to make something right now, I wouldn't. I would make it later, and I would train in that when I was actually going to raise those particular attributes. Well, now, you know, I might be in need of potions, whether I'm planning on training in intelligence or not, you know. I just need to go ahead and do that type of thing. So it's definitely a learning curve. I'm glad I saved this till later, because it's making making Oblivion great again. Not that I need to make it great. I mean, it's just great in and of itself, but it's definitely made the games fresh again. Also, it helps that I haven't played it in a long time, so. Oh, damn it. I think I should have summoned my zombie second. Whoops. Oh well. Alright, so I'm guessing we'll have a marauder boss in here or something. That would be my guess. This is a little bit like Fort Blue Blood, kinda. I don't see anyone down there, though. I wonder if there's something on that altar over there. Oh, what I was going to say earlier is I had this this thing I was gonna see if maybe draining agility, which drain spell, seeing as it's only temporary, is really cheap compared to absorb or damage. And absorb isn't a whole lot better. It takes it from them and gives it to you, but only as long as the spell lasts. Once again, it's that type of thing. And so, and I don't think a damage attribute even exists in anything but potions. Well, if that's the case, then having poisons with a drain agility effect on them, on a weapon, that would be a pretty potent combination, and possibly even put, oh man, maybe a spell, weakness to poison. I do remember there being some kind of bug sometimes, and if there's a bug at all with something, I don't trust it, because when the bugs apply, they always seem to apply to me. So, probably comes from trying new things, but apparently if you put weakness to poison on a weapon, sometimes the poison on that weapon will actually it will reduce the effect of the poison instead of increase it or something. It does the opposite of what it's supposed to do, type of thing. So rather than avoid all that, I was thinking possibly a spell combination, spell poison weapon combination, where a weapon with whatever I want them to be weak to. Say frost. I really like frost. And then maybe weakness to magic, although poisons also count as magic sometimes. Most of the time, actually. And so there is something to be said for that. Put weakness to magic on the weapon. So they're weak to whatever else I happen to be hit, and put a 2 or 3 second timer on that. And then just get a solid damage type like frost, weakness to frost, simple soul trap spell, right? Especially if we start getting some black soul gems in our inventory, then we can start capturing everything. Get a Zura star. That's gonna be a hell of a quest. I've had real problems getting a Zura star on normal. On this, shit, I'm not looking forward to that. But for all I know, maybe it'll be easier than what I think. Let's try getting some decent stuff in there. Keep a soul trap spell, keep a weakness to magic, and a weakness to a particular damage type. And that'll pretty much cover all the bases. And then they're weak to any spells you hit them with also. Because weakness to magic coming from a strike from your weapon still counts towards spells that you cast too. And so a spell of weakness to poison, I'm assuming there is such a thing, maybe an AoE type thing, make sure that it tits. Maybe include that with a fireball. Fireball with weakness to fire and weakness to poison in there. And then keep poisons handy for your weapon, and then you got that base covered. It may take up a little bit of extra charge. You may be talking about a couple less points of damage to make up for it, but you know what? I'm thinking that would be a really nasty combination. And using your magic and your poisons and your weapon together, and there may be a point, especially when you're talking about making master level poisons, and you've got a really strong enchanted weapon that doesn't have a whole bunch of extra stuff on it. You make up for that somewhere else. Make up for some of your stuff with a spell. Make up for some of your stuff with a poison. And then you can rely on most of your charge for just your damage type. And a simple weakness to all that stuff. And I'm thinking that's going to be a good combination. I still would like to try Absorb Agility and see if I... The idea was to get something of a stun lock type of thing. And this is Dark Souls thinking. Is if you can break an enemy's, what would you say, poise. Agility is like a poise meter. For those of you that are fans of Dark Souls, same kind of thing. Your amount of agility is like how much poise you have. And so stealing an enemy or draining his agility, like a drain spell is really cheap, so you could get away with draining someone's agility lit by like 70 or 80 points for little or no cost to a charge in your weapon, but the only way to get that is either through DLC or through some kind of exploit. And, well, that's either way down the road. If I can eventually get a drain agility, I might experiment with it. I'll try Absorb, but I'm guessing Absorb Agility is so expensive that putting more than 10, 15 points on a weapon is probably not reasonable. I mean, you don't want a weapon that you can only swing like 5 times and you have to recharge it, especially right now when I don't have a million filled soul gems in my inventory, you know? I'll play with it, but I'm thinking the whole poison spell weapon combination will make this difficulty seem more reasonable. Now, as far as the damage I'm taking, let's put this in perspective. Enemies are doing 6 times damage. All right, so you can say, okay, so instead of hitting you for 30, they're hitting you for 180. So if you feel like you're getting one-shotted by enemies who have no business one-shotting you, you are. It's just that simple. And the numbers are no more complicated than that. 30 equals 180. All right, so if you have 150 hit points and something normally hits you 5 times, it is going to one-shot you. Now, your armor ratings and stuff like that will kick in. So early on, there's some simple shield enchantments. There's some things you can do to enhance that a little bit. I believe shield or fire, frost, or shock shield. All right, not shell or resistance, but shield. Shield spells do raise your resistance. The fire, frost, and shock are the best ones because they raise your elemental resistance slightly, and they raise your armor rating by a certain percent. Just a little FYI there. But so there's something you can do to compensate for armor rating early on, but still, let's put it this way: if you had 85% damage resistance, that is basically making up for the extra damage that enemies are doing against you. All right, so if they've got a 6-to-1 damage advantage, if you take away 85, let's say you had max damage resistance, 85% damage resistance, which is the cap in this game. You can't get 100% damage resistance. You can get immunity to certain things, but just overall, just physical damage, no. 85% is the max with armor rating as far as that goes. I don't remember exactly what the number for the armor rating is, but it's an 85% damage resistance cap, regardless of what your armor is. Even if your armor is at 50 million, doesn't matter. Use all the exploits and cheats you want in the game. Armor rating caps out at 85%, regardless of what the number is. All right, so if you did that, if they're already hitting you for 6 times the damage they do on normal, that 85% is basically like they're hitting you essentially with a very low amount of armor on normal. Right? So max armor rating on max difficulty is like wearing very little armor on normal. Interesting, huh? I mean, if you put the numbers together, so that's... Yeah. If it feels brutal, it is. It is, and that's cool. I like that. factor in all the different things that we can do to compensate for that, though, that's cool. Like the Breton, now the Breton's cool is with magic resistance. And I did go check this out because I get confused when it comes to absorption, reflection, and resistance. All right, absorption is probably the best because you take the damage that an enemy is going to do to you with a spell, and you literally absorb that, or whatever the effect of the spell may be. It's any hostile magic becomes absorbed. I believe it's particular only to hostile magics. I don't know that it's all spells. Like if an enemy hits you with an absorb spell, which is essentially a kind of a defensive type of spell, I don't know if you can absorb an absorb spell, for example. Not sure about that. But any kind of hostile magic, like fireballs or, you know, all the destruction magic and stuff like that, you absorb that and you convert that into your own mana. And then reflect is, well, you just reflect it back on the attacker, as far as that goes. Reflecting damage. Now, damage, spell resistance, like the Breton comes with. That's, you know, it's a racial passive. The 50% is amount of damage reduced, and it's effective all the time. It's not a chance. Like when you got 50 points of spell absorption, you got a 50-50 chance to absorb a spell. It's a chance type thing. And reflect is the same way. It's a chance. But resistance is cool because it's all the time. And if you've got 100 resistance, and as far as I know, there is no cap on that. You can become immune to magic. You're still going to be susceptible to other stuff, but you can become immune to magic. I do believe you can get a full 100%. And even if not, I'd rather have max, even if it's only 85% spell resistance, than nothing. I mean, you know, if you think about it, any resistance is better than none. But I do believe you can completely become immune. I know you can get 100% spell absorption, to where any spell that comes your way, not only does it not hurt you, but it converts into mana for you. And if you've got the Atronach sign, not only do you have a huge mana pool, but no spells can touch you, and it just becomes mana for you. So you essentially turn their own magic right back against them.
Not the best you could do.
But all those different mechanics to play with, man, that is some cool shit. This difficulty is required to put some thought into it, and I'm digging that. That's cool with me. I mean, we've been getting by so far. It's been except for a couple brutal episodes, which were mostly my fault, actually. And we're definitely, like I said, if I were to go back and restart, I could come back with a couple lessons learned and make this much more playable. And it's cool. I got to learn it the hard way. I got to learn it for myself. But from this point forth, I have my own game plan. And if I ever play, we're going to stream this. Well, I plan on it. I mean, I say we're going to. I have every intention on streaming this before Skyrim Remastered comes out. And so we'll probably still be knee-deep in the middle of this playthrough, but we'll get some live Oblivion play, and we'll start a similar character, but we'll start from scratch, and we'll just do it live with you guys. Everyone still seems to be into... Oh, look at that. Holy crap, that thing's worth... Speaking of spell absorption, thing's worth almost 6,000. Dude, I don't have a merchant in the game that can give me what that's worth. Even if I sell it for a third of its value, that's still more than just about any other merchant has. I think the most I'm going to get right now is 1,200. I think Rasan in the market district. I think she, the armor trainer. I think she has 1,200 gold to spend. These freaking traps here. I vaguely remember this fort. Apparently this is another fort that I explore early in the game. Probably headed to where I'm headed now, to this inn to go start the Dark Brotherhood stuff. Probably. Probably retracing some old footsteps. Anyway, so just voicing some of the stuff that I've seen, thought about here. Getting familiar with. It's kind of nice. Kind of nice getting through something that, from what I gather, from what I've seen and read and heard from other people, is Something that a lot of people have had some problems with this. Not that I haven't had my share either, but I mean, one thing about gaming, especially with these RPGs, is if, you know, when you find a challenge, well, I mean, you know, okay, I suffer my fair share, maybe more than my fair share, of wanting to throw my controller through the TV. I mean, there's always the deaths that I don't think should happen. There's always the pissy little bugs and things, and then there's just playing bad and knowing that you can play better, you know, and all that stuff. But aside from that, really a big part of it is looking for the challenges and looking for opportunities to have to go back to the drawing board and realize that what you thought you knew, you didn't. It's humbling sometimes to sit there and think you're a know-it-all on a particular subject, and I can create a build that can run over anything type of thing, and then realize that there's 4 or 5 other things out there that you never thought about that are 10 times stronger than whatever you've been rolling with, even if it's effective. I mean, you know, there's always that element in there. So here, as much time as I put into this, and as much of a specialist as I might have thought myself to be in this game, man, talk about going back to noob school, man. Like, all kinds of new things to see, and I'm like, damn, there was a lot to this game before. And now that I'm required to look a little deeper, I realize that this is some well thought out shit. I mean, it isn't just a beautifully designed world. It doesn't have one of the most epic soundtracks of any game ever. It doesn't have one of the coolest art designs and world designs ever. It's not just that. It's that they put some thought into the fighting and stuff. And I've heard people say things about, like, you know, the fighting and the combat and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know, there's certain things in place here where if they weren't, it wouldn't work. Like, for example, being able to run backwards almost as quickly as you can run forwards. Okay, try to get out of the way of a dude with a claymore that can one-shot you. Some things have to be in place. I believe a lot of this was designed knowing that some players who would appreciate this game for what it's actually worth would eventually crank the difficulty up and experience this thing on higher difficulties and see how just brutal and unforgiving it can be, and have to go in and learn the game.
That's where men are men.
It seems simple on the surface, but the more you dig, you realize they put some thought into the magic system, the combat mechanics, the crafting, the enchanting, everything you want to enchant at the table. Everything you get, you have to pay a price. Okay, I want more of this. Okay, well, you can only use your weapon like 3 times now. Okay, well, I'll take less of that. Okay, well, then you can't kill these things over here. Okay, you know, and okay, I want more of this. Well, then you're going to have to do without that altogether. There's prices to pay, and that, I respect that in a game where it makes you make decisions, and you have to make a build. If the build in Oblivion doesn't come from skill trees, the build in Oblivion comes from managing your training during the course of each level, and then figuring out what you want to compensate for in your armor and your gear. Your build basically comes through armor and gear. It's a little more Dark Souls in that sense. I'm not going to compare Oblivion to Dark Souls, but it's that type of thinking when it comes to a build. It's more, the points are going to come. You're going to eventually train in most of your skills, and you're going to eventually get attribute points. The stronger you want to be, the earlier you want to get those, right? That's kind of a given, and the skills are what they are. There's ways to get stronger earlier and be even stronger a little bit later as far as that goes, but I guess eventually it would all round out. You know, it's just the difference between rounding out at level 20 or rounding out at level 40. Okay, but as far as your build goes, it comes down to your particular enchantment and your combinations that you use and how you utilize your magic and just how you want to play. It's unique. It's really unique. And I'm happy to say I've learned a few things here where I wouldn't have really thought I'd have learned a whole lot, and I'm glad to be wrong in that. Glad to say that as impressed as I was with this game being, if not my favorite game of all time, right up there, I'm even more impressed. Honestly, it's beautiful stuff. Anyway, I hope I can pass along some of that appreciation here, if nothing else, along with some fun gameplay and just the experience of doing all the cool things we have. Here's the inn that we're looking for. I guess we'll go fulfill our first Dark Brotherhood contract when we get back. Of course, having explored that fort back there, I think, since I can't quite fix my own magical stuff, I'm working on it. In fact, this next level, I may sink a bunch of points into armor, seeing as I can train in it now. and get to where I can. But we'll make one last trip over there to Rasan and get her to fix our magical stuff and do some training and what have you, and then we'll get back here and fulfill our Dark Brotherhood contract. Well, thanks for listening to me babble, man. I appreciate you guys hanging out to watch. And if you want to subscribe, if you haven't already, you can click that button up top. This is what we do here. And if you want to catch the rest of this playthrough, you can click that image in the middle. It should send you straight to the playlist. All right. Y'all take it easy, take care, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.